In this example, we look at data coming from your enterprise data warehouse. That could be your revenue for salespersons, also being split down to the month level like this. And as you can see here, we got data for multiple salespersons as well. But suppose that these are the only data you got in your data warehouse revenue. You don't have budget, but you may have created budget in a separate Excel file then. Here we got a budget split by years and months, and also by salespersons, as you see it here. So now you got these two separate data sources, the Excel file and the data from your enterprise data warehouse being put into a target analysis. And we're going to use both of these things as data sources through our data bundler. So if we at first pick our the analysis here, need to prepare a few things before that one is a proper data source. And for example, I would need to go here and hide some of my totals and subtotals, otherwise that will sum up to wrong numbers. I'll also go down to the next level here, down to the date level, because I might just use this date column as a key for connecting those two data sources, as you'll see later on. Furthermore, I'll add a very small table, this so-called simple table here, because in there I can simply add a dimension without any measures. And I'm going to need this list of salesperson as a common dimension table later on as well. So now I put these two objects, these two tables into one analysis. I just need to save it. I'll just save it as my salesperson's time revenue analysis right here. Okay, so at this point we can then go to our data modeler and start adding those data sources. So go to the data sources section, and add your data source, the Excel file. Is this one here, but before I actually add this, I might want to go here and close the Excel files, or otherwise it won't load. So the Excel file is one of my data sources. I'll just want to save that as it is. This one, however, I need to also modify this one a little bit. As you can see here, we got the year column, month column, salesperson column, and budgets over here. But I will be missing, I'll just change this one into a string, not as a number, but I'm missing a date key, and I'm going to create a date key based on the years and the months, and then simply add all of these budget numbers to the first of every single month. So in order to do that, I'll create a format, give it a proper name. Let's call it salesperson budget with date, like this. And the format I need to create, I need to add that as a new column here. It's something that's going to contain a date key. So my formula here, I'm going to use some date functions in order to do that, to derive dates from the existing columns. So the date function here, you can set that up by looking up your year column. That's what I'm doing here, comma, and then we're going to look up the month column. However, the months are fully named month names here, and I would prefer that to be numbers. So I need to use a function called text to month. You see it right here, and that text to month will actually take the month names and convert it into a number. Notice, however, it will assume a 3-letter month name. So I need to use another function here to take the first 3 letters of this column. So I'm going to use the left function here, the left function of my month column, like that. Camera 3, meaning the first 3 letters, the 3 leftmost letters actually. And then I'm going to add a 1 to my date function. So that will just be taking the first of every single month here. I think I'm missing a bracket here, so I'll just add that. And now the syntax is correct. So I can now save this, and it will give me something like this that you see here. We can then save this, and right now it's well, it's actually creating my data source. I'll just need to wait for that before I can do a proper preview here. So now it's ready for a preview, and we can see that the date keys go in here. We can also see that well, the format here is actually not correct. It is actually pegging January and February, etc., and so on. But I need to go back here and work a little bit with my date or data type. Notice that it's currently a string here for my date key, and I actually need to change that into a proper date data type. And also the pattern that you're seeing for my date key, I need to put that in here in this field here called date pattern, where I need to tell the system that you should read the first 2 numbers as the days, and then we got a dash, and then 2 months, and then 4 years. So now that should be okay. If I go here and well, just wait for this one to update again, I will be able to see that it's in the expected format. You can see it's changed now, so now we got the format with the month, days, and years. Okay, having done that, that was our budget data that we added as data source. Now we can go and add data from our enterprise data warehouse, data that we put into an target analysis. And you simply connect to your localhost server or whatever server you're working at, and look up your analysis where you save the things that you're going to use now as a data source. And here we got 2 objects. The first cross tab is my data source where I had the revenues together with salespersons and my time dimension. And once that one has been created, we can go and have a look. So you see here that we got salesperson years, etc. And again, the dates here are not entirely correct. So I'll also need to work a little bit with the data type and probably also the format pattern or date pattern for this one. So going here, I can then change it type to date and also make sure that it reads the pattern correctly. Like this. Notice there is actually a difference between using lowercase and uppercase here, so be a little bit careful about that. So having done that, and once it's done updating, we can have a preview. We can do that now. So the preview now again shows us that the date here is in the pattern that we expect it to be. So that should be okay. Now I'm going to add 2 more data sources because I'm going to use a common salesperson dimension table. And remember, I created a very simple table just containing the salesperson names. And I'm going to add that as a data source simply for the purpose of having a common salesperson dimension table. So it was the second table here. I probably need to rename this one. Maybe just call it my salesperson's, well, actually my salesperson dim table. It's going to be a dimension table. And we can just wait for that one to create. It's a very simple table. as you'll see. So it's available now, and the preview here, well, of course, that's just a list of all of your salesperson names. And then we'll need another common dimension here, our time dimension. And for that purpose, we got a date time plugin here that we can use. The date time plugin simply works in the way that you pick a start date and an end date. They can be dynamic, or you can set it manually yourself. So if we want things here to start back in 2014 on the 1st of January 2014, we simply set that here, and also the end date, if that should be fixed to the 31st of December 2017, that's what we already got there. So let's just save that. That'll produce a table with all the dates between those two endpoints. So now that we got these 4 data sources, we can then go to our cube section to add a new cube or create a new cube. I'll call it revenue and budget cube. And then we're simply going to add the data sources that we just defined. So we got the salesperson's budget with date, the modified one. This one goes in here, mark it as a fact table because it contains measure. And likewise, we got something from our enterprise data warehouse, a target analysis. This one containing the revenue, so that one is also a fact table. And then we got our 2 dimension tables, the time dimension table here, and also the salesperson list, if you like, this one. Now we just need to relate these tables correctly. So we are going to create relations from our fact tables to our dimension tables, for example, by the dates or date keys. And that goes for both fact tables to the time dimension table. And likewise, with regard to the salespersons, they also need to be related to the salesperson dimension table. So now we have set up these relations correctly. We might add a few things more here. For example, the only interesting things in the 2 fact tables are actually the measures. So I might want to hide everything else like this. Also, you can go into your attribute settings to make sure that your measures are, for example, seen only as a sum measure, not as a dimension, etc. And we can do that for the other fact table as well. So like that. And also for your dimension tables, if you want to, you can also work with attribute settings on those. And maybe, well, actually this one should just be become a dimension, and the other one here, the same thing, just seen as a dimension. So now that should be okay. We can save the cube. And once that has been saved, we can then close the data modeler, and now we should be able to go create a new analysis, looking up those combined data from our enterprise data warehouse and from the Excel file, our revenue data and our budget data. Here we got budget, we got revenue from 2 separate data sources. We can have a look at this through the common time dimension like this. Could be turned into a column chart, for example, like this. We can add a cross tab where we can also have a look at budget and revenue per salespersons now. Everything coming from the 2 data sources, your target analysis actually pulling data from your enterprise data warehouse, and the budget data coming from your budget Excel file. And you can use that as you usually do in a target analysis.